This is news analysis coming to you live on Politics and Business Television Abuja. Good afternoon and many thanks for joining us on the program for today. I'm Fatima Abubakar Oibo. The headlines. Federal government suspends planned 15% import duty on petrol, diesel. Federal government orders probe into Wike naval officer clash. NOV reverses mother tongue policy, English restored as teaching language. On the foreign scene, India unveils $5 billion relief plan to counter U.S. tariffs. Details of the stories and more to come shortly after the break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. And now the news in details. The federal government has announced the suspension of its earlier plan to impose a 15% ad valorem import duty on premium motor spirit, petrol, and automotive gas oil, diesel. The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority confirmed the decision, noting the proposed tariff is no longer under consideration. Officials reassured citizens that fuel supply remains stable nationwide, sourced from both local refineries and imports. The suspension comes after widespread concerns that the duty could trigger higher fuel prices and worsen inflation. The move is expected to ease pressure on consumers and businesses already grappling with economic challenges. Authorities say the decision reflects government's commitment to ensuring affordability and stability in the downstream and petroleum sector. Meanwhile, the federal government has launched an investigation into the heated confrontation between the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and a naval officer identified as A. Yerima. The clash, which reportedly stemmed from a land dispute in Abuja, has drawn sharp criticism from retired military generals who warn that such incidents undermine discipline and respect within the armed forces. Defense Minister Mohammed Badaru confirmed the probe, assuring that the military remains committed to protecting personnel carrying out lawful duties. The altercation, which quickly escalated into a national talking point, has been described by observers as a troubling reflection of institutional disorder. Ex-generals expressed outrage over the public spectacle, while the Defense Ministry commended the officers' composure during the encounter. Authorities say the investigation will determine the circumstances surrounding the incident and ensure accountability as the government seeks to preserve order and uphold the integrity of its institutions. In another development, the federal government has officially scrapped the 2022 National Language Policy, which mandated the use of indigenous languages as a medium of instruction childhood to primary 6. Announcing the reversal in Abuja, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, declared that English will now serve as the language of instruction across all levels of education. He explained that evidence-based research showed the mother tongue policy had negatively impacted learning outcomes, with many pupils advancing without acquiring essential skills. The decisions unveiled at the Language in Education International Conference 2025 has been described as a move to restore order and improve performance in Nigeria's education system. Authorities say the shift back to English will enhance competitiveness, ensure uniformity, and better prepare students for national and international examinations. The government insists the policy change reflects its commitment to qualify education and improved learning standards. You're still watching the news analysis right here on Politics and Business Television Abuja. Still to come, Tinubu bar sale of farm properties or the aviation reforms. Details of this headline and more news content after a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. And now on to business matters. President Bola Tinubu has directed that all properties belonging to the Federal Airport Authorities of Nigeria (FAN) within and around airport premises must remain under government ownership. The announcement was made by Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo after the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. He explained that the directive overrides previous attempts by past administration to dispose of such assets, stressing that they are critical national infrastructure. Keyamo noted that facilities such as staff quarters for firefighters and air traffic controllers are essential for swift emergency response and cannot be handed over to private entities. The decision comes alongside sweeping reforms approved for the aviation sector, including upgrades to aeronautical information systems, new communication infrastructure, and procurement of specialized rescue equipment. Authorities say the move underscores government's commitment to safeguarding national assets while modernizing Nigeria's airports. The directive is expected to strengthen aviation safety and ensure that foreign properties continue to serve the public interest. And on to the foreign scene, the Indian government has announced a $5 billion economic package aimed at cushioning the impact of recent U.S. tariffs on its exports. Officials say the plan will provide targeted support to industries most affected, including textiles, pharmaceuticals, and information technology. The relief measures are expected to stabilize foreign trade earnings and protect millions of jobs that rely on international markets. The move underscores New Delhi's determination to safeguard its economy amid escalating trade tensions with Washington. Authorities revealed that the package will include tax incentives, export subsidies, and infrastructure upgrades to boost competitiveness. Analysts believe the intervention could help India maintain growth momentum while negotiations with the U.S. continue. And now for Sport News, let's join Arokotom.
Good day and welcome to P&B Sports News. I'm Arokotom. The FIFA World Cup knockout stage is set and African nations are preparing for some exciting round of 32 clashes. Japan will take on South Africa, Austria face Tunisia, while Senegal meets Uganda in an all-African showdown. Germany battles Burkina Faso, Switzerland go up against Egypt, and the USA face Morocco. Meanwhile, Zambia locks horns with Mali, guaranteeing at least one African side in the round of 16. In other news, former Sierra Leone international Mike Laoud has stirred controversy after calling Super Eagles captain Williams Ekong a social media leader, claiming the Nigerian squad lacks strong on-field leadership. Laoud also suggested that no African country wants Nigeria to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. That's your update on P&B Sports News. I'm Arokotom. Stay tuned for more in the world of sports.
Let's move to the focus of today on news analysis on Politics and Business Television, Abuja. Today we are dissecting a storm threatening institutional stability and national unity, a confrontation on November 11, 2025, involving Minister Nyesom Wike and a uniformed military officer. It has sparked calls from retired army leadership that the incident is a clear and present danger to national security. According to retired Chief of Army Staff Tukur Burate, this public act of indiscipline by minister undermines the authority of the commander-in-chief, wounds officer morale, and erodes the foundation of a national security apparatus. The core question today is stark. When civilian power confronts military authority publicly, who wins? Is it the system or the spectacle? Well, in a widely shared video, Minister Wike was seen confronting a Navy officer in Abuja, insisting that neither uniform nor rank exempts anyone from due process. Social media exploded. X, formerly known as Twitter, one user tweeted, if a minister can humiliate a soldier in uniform publicly, then the uniform is powerless. Another Facebook comment says, Wike looks bold, but boldness without respect is chaos. Well, a WhatsApp group chatter says our army is being embarrassed on video and no one in government says a word. That's the real threat. And these reactions reflect deep unease, not just about Wike's temperament, but about what his conduct signals to Nigeria's security institutions and citizens. Well, I'm not alone in the studio. Joining us live in the studio is Comrade Salihu Dantata Mahmoud. He's a director of Security Salute Nigeria Initiative. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you're correct.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us on the program for today. Thank you for being here. Let's jump right into it. Comrade Salihu, your first reaction when you watched the video of Minister Wike confronting the officer, what went through your mind regarding institutional respect and national security?
Well, in the first place, it relegated our armed forces. It also relegated the office of the Minister of FCT.
Yeah.
Then the minister demystified the president and commander-in-chief who appointed him. Because as a minister, he's not even a member of Security Council of the country. He's only a member of Federal Executive Council. And for a minister serving under a democratically elected president to call a presidentially commissioned officer, because that officer there, irrespective of his rank in the Nigerian Navy, was commissioned as a regular combatant officer of the Nigerian Defense Academy of one of the regular combatant courses. Regular combatant courses differs from short service as well differs from direct short service. Even if it was direct short service or short service, no minister, no public office holder, no citizen has the right to call any uniform officer a fool. Not even an officer of the Federal Road Safety Commission, not even officers of the residual creation of states like VIO and State Fire Service. So what came to my mind is Minister Wike was overzealous. He did not follow protocols and channels. In FCT there is a full-fledged security services department manned by a director of security services who coordinates all the security agencies in FCT that are members of FCT Security Council for the minister. If issues like that occur, he ought to have channeled it either through the Commissioner of Police or the head of Naval Unit in Abuja, or at worst, the Gas Brigade's commander. So Minister Wike felt as Minister of FCT, he was in charge of the armed forces, was in charge of everybody. This is not the first time. There is a land by, even though we know he said it was under high tension, by a post Crest that belongs to the police. He confronted even the Inspector General of the police. So this is not the first time he's doing it, but I'm happy this one went viral, and the regular combatant officer who is a lieutenant in Nigerian Navy, that is equivalent of a captain in Nigerian Army, stood his ground because he was chief security officer to immediate past chief of naval staff. You see, that officer has two appointment letters as at the time he did his personal parade. That of E being commissioned and patch of commitment. Patch of commitments involved his rules of engagement, other things he had to do as a military officer and as somebody that is a member of the defense force. So Wike relegated the armed forces, abused the power of the president and commander-in-chief and that of the armed forces. And I was very happy. The Minister of Defense, alongside the Minister of State Defense and other high echelons in the ministry, came to support that young naval officer because he was carrying out his lawful duty, even if it were to be officer of Nigerian security and civil defense. He had no data. Let me give you an example. When Abba Moro was Minister of Interior, Minister of Interior supervises immigration, civil defense, correctional service, and fire service. They had issues with one of the Controller Generals of Immigration, Uzo Amaka. Abba Moro did not use his power as Minister of Interior, who supervises the four service agencies, to insult her. All he did was to report the erring Controller General to the President and Commander-in-Chief. It was Jonathan then. Jonathan now gave him the waiver to remove the Controller General. So these are people that know what is administration. So Wike, even the vehicle inspection offices that is called Director of Road Traffic Services under FCT or FCT Fire Service, he has no right to call any of the officers of VIO or FCT Fire Service a fool. Talk more of a federal defense agency like Nigerian Navy that forms part of the armed forces, part of defense forces, part of the military. He embarrassed the nation, he embarrassed the commander-in-chief, and by now, I had expected the standing committees on national security and intelligence, defense, subcommittee on navy to call in through the FCT committee to order. By now, the national security advisor ought to have written to Wike to publicly tender apology to the armed forces.
Well, Buratai went so far as to label this incident a threat to national security. Do you agree that a minister's public rebuke of a uniformed officer can really compromise our command and control structure?
He has already compromised that standards. The military remains the lender of our last resort in terms of defense of territorial integrity of this country. That officer you are seeing there spent 5 years in Nigerian Defense Academy from Tamal 1 up to Tamal 5. It was only when he was in Tamal 4 that he went to One, because the naval officers, when they are in Tamal 4, they go for their final year, 1 year in One, for the rigorous maritime and sea drills and what have you. And one thing Wike does not know, the naval rank all over the country is same. That of Army, the rank in Indian Army might differ from that of Nigerian, that of Air Force, same thing. But naval rank all over, same rank Navy has in US, UK, Germany is what they have in Nigeria. Why? Because all together is things that has to do with maritime, water, and sea. So the issues are, that is it. He already brought that institution, the armed forces entirely, because no one goes alone. It's just like this onslaught we are carrying out, they are carrying out with due respect to them, against bandits and insurgents. Air Component Group is there on air raid, air onslaught. The Army is there on ground clearance, even though we know some of the civil security are also assisting. Then the Navy is doing the ones for maritime and also for others. So that is why you see in the NDA, they are the same. And that is why altogether they are under Ministry of Defense. So already as a civilian minister, he already disrespected that institution. And that is what General Buratai, himself a former Chief of Army Staff, is saying. That thing is capable of instigating and killing the morale of members of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Not long ago, there was reported rumor of attempted coup. If this kind of rancor occurs, it sends wrong signals to members of the armed forces. And don't, God forbid, maybe some of his colleagues are there You don't know what they can plan. We know they are not going to do it because all of them are supportive of the democratic institution. So what is expected of President Bola Tinubu, no matter what important role Wike is playing in this government, he should let him get query. He should be given query. When at the point of appointment as FCT minister, he went through retreat to know his limitations. And even look at some DSS officers and some police officers with him that are trying to charge. As a civil security, are you now going to charge for the defense forces? I'm very glad that the Commissioner of Police, Mila Dantawai himself, a mobile police officer who had worked with Jonathan in the villa, maintained calmness because the CP was not seen to have. He was there before Wike. The CP was there. The naval officer gave the CP compliment. He explained things to him. He understood as a top security echelon. So Wike, next time, when there are issues like that, he should call the Commissioner of Police. The Commissioner of Police is in charge of FCT. His Security Council is in charge. He should ask him what is supposed to be done. He is a civilian. He should forget that he was a lawyer. A lawyer has limitation. He is an appointee of the President and Commander-in-Chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Not even, let me give you an example. The day President Bola Tinubu will decorate his ADC, who was promoted from Lieutenant Colonel to Colonel, you can see the respect he gave. The Chief of Army Staff, who is now Chief of Defense Staff, General Oloyede, was there. You see how Tinubu respected his ADC. The ADC is also an Oba in the waiting from Kwara.
Yes.
What did President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did as a mark of respect when other Yoruba Obas from Southwest paying homage? He asked his ADC to sit down. There is also an Oba in the waiting. He's already a crowned Oba, but because of the military duties, he cannot go and take charge. That is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I can give Wike an example. When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was governor of Lagos State, he gave part of huge budget of Lagos State to security. He complimented the effort of the police, Navy, Air Force, Army, Civil Defense, and others. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been supporting members of the armed forces, who is now Wike. And like I told you, this probe should extend, even though police is not part of Ministry of Defense, to how Wike also embarrassed the IG. Because when they went to Aponepa, where the police were building, they say it's under high tension. He abused that. He ought to have transmitted certain letters to the IG. So the issues are, when you are a minister, you should know your limitation. We need, that is what we call morale. The morale of members of our armed forces needed to be high. So the issues are, Wike must be made to apologize to the entire Nigerian armed forces, not only Navy, because they all work. That's why they have order of precedence. Army comes first, followed by Navy, then the last is the Air Force. And the man whose instruction that young regular combatant lieutenant is carrying instruction of Nigerian Navy is carrying instruction is the immediate past Chief of Naval Staff, whose regular course is above the incumbent Chief of Defense Staff and Chief of Naval Staff. So the military, whether you are retired or not, they have respect, seniority, even for the short service courses, directions. So for people that are ignorant, one senior advocate of Nigeria came blabbering that the naval officer Ed son should go and learn about security. You obey the orders. If that lieutenant of the Nigerian Army, A.M. Yerima, defied in carrying the order of his principal, his chief security officer to the immediate past Chief of Naval Staff, if he defied, do you know what would have followed suit? Court martial. That is it.
But there are some other acts, like the one of the activists from Delta State, Asari Dokuba, according to report, has said that the young naval officer should be court-martialed for what he did in the video, the altercation. He should be court-martialed for the altercation. You also said something. You talked about the naval institution, not just the Navy. Rather, it's not just an institution that is it's something that is it's a joint cooperation, or should I say joint operation, all over the world, because the rankings are the same everywhere. Do you mean that this is not just an insult to the Nigerian Navy, but also the Navy all over the world?
What do you expect from a former militant? who Yaradua helped to rehabilitate. People that take people like characters like Ansari Dokubo, who in a good country ought to be in jail. Seriously, I take them as short-sighted people. Who is Ansari Dokubo? When we are talking about standard security, we are talking about prominence, we are talking about eminence here. Would Ansari Dokubo would have been able to go through the rigorous training in Nigerian Defense Academy as a regular combatant officer? You write exam, you pass, you go and face selection board that from Defense Headquarters and Ministry of Defense, they send either Air Vice Marshal, Rear Admiral or Major General to be chairman of the selection board. They check your medical state of mind and what have you. Then you go through rigorous processes. Then you become a clown before you now become a cadet proper in Tamal 1 of the. Would it have been able to go through that? You see, he should respect the armed forces. That is Ansari Dokubo. He's just a repentant militant. Is devoid of knowledge in security. He doesn't even know civil security. Talk more of what makes the military and armed forces. He must respect them. For he should be court-martialed. How? What does he know about security? He's just blabbering. Maybe he went and took one kind and he's just talking. I don't take people like Ansari Dokubo seriously. With no apology to him, is like an undesirable and disgruntled element. He's an enemy of the state by making this type of statement, and I think the military authorities should act on people, characters like Ansari Dokubo. He's saying this to get relevant. He's a sycophant. He wants maybe the same Ansari Dokubo that insulted Wike yesterday. Today is talking like this to Nigerian Navy. He doesn't know the extremeness, not only the Navy, of the entire armed forces. He should tell me that he was not involved in illegal bunkering before. People like Tompolo have become responsible and reasonable citizens by even taking contract from NNPC to guard our pipeline. So you should go and look for one. So I don't engage people like that, because when I want to talk to you, when I want to take you seriously, I have to profile you. People like us that are talking here, right from Abacha administration, we have paid our dues. The records are there. What we have written on national unity, contributions we have made. He has houses in Abuja. We are here to be working honestly without settlement from certain quotas. Would he have built those houses and all that? So people like that should be disregarded, and I implore Nigerians not to take people like Ansari Dokubo seriously. They are pay-as-you-go people that just come. They are the type that ignites fire when we are talking about serious related matters. So the issues are, if Minister of Defense has come to speak, other people like Burate have come to speak. Who is Ansari Dokubo?
Okay, some argue that this is just politics, or another land dispute spiraling small. From your perspective, where does it cross into the realm of national security concerns?
You see, even though it has to do with land, but that action of the minister is a dent on national security, because the lenders of last resort as regards defense of the territory, because the military has a primary responsibility to defend the territorial integrity of the country. There are secondary roles for Navy, Maritime Waters, Air Force, Airspace, then Army, Land, and House of Orders. So for these people, they have these roles. If one segment is touched, it means you are become confrontational to them, because tomorrow, what do you expect Okbasela on the street to do to them? It's like instigation. What Wike did, if it's in Britain or US, by now it should be tendering his resignation. The entire armed forces. And he was on lawful duty. By and large, what even took Minister of FCT to that place? There are allegations that part of that land already was grabbed by Wike near MRS there in Gadwa. So he's wanting to grab the others. Let me give you an example where you know Wike himself does not have integrity. There was a garden in area 2 here to area 3 near Shafa by the right, near FCDA quarters. It's a green land, they demolish it. Today they are building houses there, say for judges. On green land. Nasiru El-Rufai was Minister of FCT. Green lands were no areas to be built on. The same Wike confronted the IG because the police are building under high tension in Apo, Nepa. The same Wike is building for judges on green land. There are many areas Wike as FCT minister has violated. There are many insinuations where he has grabbed other people's lands. So I think Mr. President must set up panel of inquiry to be aided by a retired judge of reputation to investigate Wike as Minister of FCT, so that the president can sustain his hard-earned reputation as an activist, two-time governor, leader of APC, and now president and commander-in-chief of the most esteemed, populous, and respected African nation in the world.
Okay, you've spoken well, but I have two questions for you before we go. The first question I have is, let's look at the broader picture. What kind of message does this send to troops in the field and to Nigerians who expect the uniform to represent stability?
Sometimes mistakes can be made. Let me tell you, the list in the armed forces, maybe from Land, Army, Navy, or Air Force, is trained with patience, perseverance, and calmness. That's what that young officer. So it won't affect their morale. Morale of officers and men in Operation Fansa Yama had them carry Safe Haven, Special Task Force, and host of order. That is why in most cases they say morale and they say high. So even from depot, Naval training schools, Air Force training schools, Defense Academy, both regular combatant courses, short service, and even directional service, their morals are high. This won't make them derail. They have what they call rules of engagement. They have what you call patch of commitment. They will adhere to it. The orders given to them by their commanders, service chiefs, and the president and commander-in-chief. But the issue is they will also learn from that young naval lieutenant that amid any provocation, you need to maintain your ground, calmness, and go by your rules of engagement. If that naval lieutenant had ordered his boys, what do you think will have happened between the DSS accompanying Wike and the police and also others? But we thank God what he was taught in NDA, he exported it, and he made exemplary example of it by living up to standards, rules of engagement, and not allowing, anger to supersede his patience.
I actually learned something from this personally. I believe that sometimes when you do, there's this thing that our Gen Zs of nowadays will tell you aura for aura. So when you do that aura for aura thing, sometimes it might.
Now, even before the Gen Z, former IG of blessed memory, Tafa Balogun, during his term, launched Operation Fire for Fire. That is to say, armed robbers that fires people, fire them back.
Okay.
So, yes.
But in this case, if that fire for fire had happened, it would have escalated into something bigger.
And I will remind you of one thing. Thank God it's not Obasanjo administration. It was police officers that were killed in Odi. You remember? In South. Obasanjo ordered for the clearance of the place. Military officers were killed in Zakibiam. Even though a former chief of army staff who served under him, late Lieutenant General Victor Malu, came from that area. They cleared part of Zakibiam. So we are lucky that we also have a discretional commander-in-chief. Even with Wike being his minister, if it's somebody like Obasanjo, you first of all, relieve Wike of his appointment, then make him to go through the civil courts.
Well, finally, Comrade Sali, what must President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration do to restore confidence, not just with the army, but with the citizens who feel authority is being undermined?
We need to carry out value reorientation. That rule of law is respected of nobody. Then for the public office orders, when they are appointed, they will retreat for them. So they shouldn't just learn theory from the retreats. They should also learn the practical, where what you learned. If Wike had demonstrated or shown what he learned from retreat, he wouldn't have behaved that way. As a minister, when he gets there, the first thing, I know that naval officer will give him compliment. He will say, "Officer, can I hear from you?" Then they will send everybody away. He will call the commissioner of police, maybe director of DSS if he's